Alright, here's a continuation video for the universal design assignment. Okay, so the first couple things we're going to want to do is be able to add some components. So right now we had all the bathroom components, but now the key thing is if there's some features or components that you can't find in the default library, here's kind of the best way to do that. So I'll introduce a couple options for you, and then we'll also talk about putting in that ramp here, as well as some different section views. Alright, so here we are looking for, first off, I want to include a little handicap wheelchair logo here to show that a wheelchair would fit in this bathroom, and it's universal access there. So to do that, I have provided, if you go to Schoology, which, hold on, sorry. When you go to your Schoology class, which is here, and you come down to Universal Design, I've provided some resources here, Revit Families. So when you click on that, it should open up an option for you to go to Google Drive. Schoology doesn't like to open this, so you have to click on the link there. And it should open up the Google Drive as shown on the screen now. And this is where you'll get your files for things like the wheelchair logo, a wheelchair itself, if you want to kind of have that for reference. I also included a few door options for closets. So you have the sliding pocket door that will kind of go into the wall, as well as the bifold. That's a very common one for closet doors. Those are not default in Revit, so if you need those, you have to click on those. And what you would do is click on it, download it. All right, so I'll start with the wheelchair circle, for example. I'll right click and go to download. And now when it downloads, it'll probably default to the downloads folder, or you can download it and save it wherever you want to. Okay, so for our purposes, it should be in my downloads folder. All right, so now I'll go back to Revit. And now when I go to place component, so I'll come over here in the top left corner, component, I'm going to go to load family. All right, when I go to load family, again, this will default to the basic library. I'm going to go over to my computer, find the downloads folder, and I can see here I saved it twice. So here's the wheelchair logo. I hit open. It'll need to update because I think this was made back in 2013. It'll update to whatever model you're using, and now I can place it in there just like I would place any other component. Alright, so that's how we do components from Schoology. Now if there's other things that you're looking for and are not in the libraries, the other thing I've linked is something called RevitCity. Okay, so RevitCity is a website where people load up different Revit files, and so specifically Revit family files. And so what you would do there is, if when you click on RevitCity, and again I have it linked here, or it's just revitcity.com, so it's pretty easy to find. When you first get there, it'll ask you to create an account. So eventually you get to this website. This button should say join if you haven't already created an account, and then you'll log in with it with that whatever, probably your Northfield School's email address would be the best. And then after that you can just hit this search button. I'll just go with wheelchair, for example. You can find options within RevitCity, and I don't think I hit search there. There we go. Okay, so wheelchair, I'm searching for it, and you can see now these are all the different wheelchair options I can select. I can hit download now. Same procedure as what I just showed you with the wheelchair logo, and so you can grab some of those options for you, and that's kind of what you would do for that. Okay. Alright, now finishing up with this particular section, I'll show you guys how to put a ramp in. Okay, so now for the ramp, what I want to be able to do, again, is go from the top port of this little patio area all the way down to kind of the ground level. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at my elevation views. And right now, if I go to my east elevation, I'll take a look and see that, you know, where the floor is compared to where the ground would be, there's actually a height difference there. Okay, so to figure out what that is, I'm actually going to go ahead and click on my patio here. I made it a 6-inch patio. Right? You can also see that if you click on Edit Type, the default thickness right now is 6 1/8 inch. Okay, so I'm going to keep that in mind. Now when I go here, I want to create a new level that represents the ground. Okay, so to do that, once I'm in this elevation view, I click on level up here under architecture, and I'm going to click on the floor, and I want to offset that by that 6 inches. Okay, so you can see here it's offsetting it. It's being called level 5 right now. I think I've made a few levels along the way. So I'll just click on that over here and hit escape a couple times, and I'm going to rename this now to ground. Okay, it'll ask to rename corresponding views. That sounds good. Okay, so now I've got a ground floor, which represents where the actual ground would be, offset from the actual patio. Alright, so I'll just tidy up these lines a little bit just to get us looking a little bit prettier. Okay, and so now I've got a ground floor compared to the floor. Okay, so at this point, I'm actually going to go back to my floor plan view just to kind of look at it from the top. There's an option under architecture that says ramp. Okay, so now for the ramp, I'm going to use this run option, and again, if you look here at the constraints, okay, so for the top level, I want the top to actually be the floor, and then I want the base level to be the ground. Okay, so it'll go from the ground to the floor, or vice versa, however you want to say that. Okay, and at this point, I'm just going to kind of click and drag it out, right? And you see that as I pull it out, it'll give me this rectangle in terms of how far it needs to go in order to cover that distance. Right, so it's 6 feet of inclined ramp, and that will cover the distance from the floor to the ground. Okay, I'll hit the check mark, and now if I go to my 3D view, I'll notice that there is a little ramp here now. Okay, so now it's not lined up with anything. I did that on purpose because I want to make sure it covers the entire thing without hitting anything else. I notice that this is the top part, and so I'll line it up to this edge of my patio. Okay, the best way to do that, I'm going to hit align. I'm going to click on where I want it to align to first, so that edge of the patio. I'll click on this edge of my ramp, and now it's going to line up on that edge. Okay. If I still want to, I can click and drag it around a little bit if I want it to move. Let's say, I guess the other way to do that is aligning the other edge. So let me go ahead and do that as well. Align from here to here. Okay, that looks good. And then I'll go ahead and also align this edge to this edge. Okay. All right, so that's looking pretty good now. If I go to my 3D view, I'll see that my ramp is lined up to the edge, and it goes from the patio, top of the patio, to the ground. Right. The other thing I'll quickly do in here is add some railings, since we don't want our wheelchairs to get to the top and fall off. And so for railings, I'll go back to architecture. There's a railing option, and this one's pretty simple. I just draw some lines to follow this patio. Okay, so I'll draw it like here to here, and then I'll draw another one from here to here. Okay, want to get my square there so it's actually matched up. Hit the check mark, and if I go to my 3D view now, I've got my railing. Okay, and again, every time you create a new railing, I'd go back to the railing and then finish up wherever I want to draw that. Alright, now finally the last thing I want to do is add a couple of views, and so I'll go to cover that right now. Okay, so go back to my floor plan view, and there's 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you guys the 3D view option, which is kind of a camera view. The best way I like to do that is going back up here to, if you look here under the kind of the home screen, I'm going to click on camera. Okay, so now for this camera view, I'm going to kind of place it in the door and have it looking into the bathroom. Right, so all you do is click to place where it will be looking from, and then when you drag it out, it's how far you'll be looking into. Alright, so right now my 3D view is actually not really showing up with much of anything, and I think that's because there might be some walls in the way. So let me take a look here. I'm going to pull out the view a little bit, kind of see what I'm looking at. Okay, so, and then an easy way to kind of do this is if you click on various components. So it actually looks like I'm looking at the door really close from the door. That's the problem. Yep, that's what it is. Okay, so I'll click on the door, I'll right click on it, and I'm going to say hide in view. Okay, so I'm going to hide that element. go ahead and do maybe the same thing for this wall. Right, so I don't need to see this wall right now for this view, hide and view elements. Right, now I got a better view of my bathroom. Again, whatever other components you added to it, might tidy this view up a little. Right, so I'm looking at my bathroom. Okay. At this point, if you want, you can also change it to realistic view. I'll go ahead, for example, change the visual style to realistic. Okay, might take a second to load. It'll add some color to it. See my concrete floor, my toilet, my bathtub, my sinks. Take a screenshot of this as my camera view, 3D view of the bathroom. Okay. And again, typically I'll turn off the realistic, make it back to hidden line, or else it'll get your computer really laggy. Okay, the other one I want to create is a section view. Okay, so I'll go back to my floor plan, and the section view is really useful. We use this actually to create our wall view, but for example, also for the elevation view, sometimes I like to use section views for that as well. Okay, so all I do is come back over here to views. I click on section. I'll click from this edge to this edge, for example. I'll be looking at it from the front. That way I get a view of my ramp. It should show up here under the sections, under the project browser. Okay, and now I can see my ramp shown nice and clearly. Again, I might want to change that to realistic, get some color views. At this point, I might have also added a roof and things like that, maybe change the wall types, depending on what I'm trying to do. Alright, so that should get you a good start on those couple parts of the Revit project.